Don't be, you made it.
All right.
Tell me when you're ready. Ready. Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome everybody to the October meeting of the Laconia Zoning Board of Adjustments. And with that, could we have a roll call, please?
Mike Delavecchio.
Here.
Roland Mayhew.
Here.
Suzanne Perley.
Here.
Mike Foote.
Here.
Steve Bogert.
Here.
And Ori Gibbs is not present this evening. With us tonight, we have Dean Trefethen, the planning director, and I, Robert Moore, will be doing the minutes.
Okay, so we have roll call. We have enough people to run the meeting tonight. I forgot the word for that one.
Quorum.
Quorum, thank you. Mike, if you don't mind, you'll be voting on all issues before the board tonight, please. Very good. Okay, so everybody have a chance to review the minutes? Any changes? Any additions, deletions, modifications? There being none, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the minutes as written.
I move we accept the minutes as written.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. Once again, we got the staff in attendance, we had roll call, acceptance of the meeting, and extensions continue. We have no extensions. Public hearings. The purpose of this agenda section is for the board to have a presentation from the applicants and a public hearing for the public to provide input. The board may also deliberate the application, decide, and conduct a final vote at this time. So we'll go ahead and get started. Application 2018-0018, 556 Wares Boulevard, number 2. Applicant is requesting a variance to add a dormer that is within the side setback area. Please come forward, introduce yourself for the record, and tell us how we might help you. And before you get started, if I may, if you have a cell phone, public communications to decide, please put it on silent so it doesn't disturb the meeting. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Keith Doobie. This is my wife, Andrea Doobie. As you have in the application, they were looking to put a full dormer on the lake side of our condo at 556 Weirs Boulevard. In the packet, there should be some pictures of the house of how it is existing. The upstairs has one side is the driveway side is a full dormer, and the lake side is like a salt box style roof. And it cuts off the last 5 feet of the upstairs. You can't really use it unless you're crawling on all fours. Kind of makes it hard with the bed, and I kind of force her to have that side. So we're just looking to put a full dormer on it. We're not looking to add any more to the house. We're going to be staying within the footprint of it. We're not adding any roof line. We're just trying to make the space that we're being taxed on and used, that we have right now, making it usable. And being the size of the house, if you see it's a 750 square feet of living space, we need every square foot we can.
Do you live there year-round?
No. We have 2 older sons, teenagers, 6 feet. So they need the headspace too.
So it looks like you got a quarter dormer, it looks like, about on one side. Is that yours?
Yeah, it looks.
Then you're just gonna spread it all the way down on that side and then
We're
put
going
it
to do the
fully-
exact same thing on the other side, yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Can I ask a question of staff? The application, it just says that we're getting a variance from the side setback, but it doesn't say the zoning district, and it doesn't, the article and section that we're giving, the zoning ordinance that we're giving us a variance on, and what the setbacks are, and how much into the setback we're going? Do we have any of that information?
It is in the CR district, and because they're doing a dormer, they're not changing the footprint, so they're not going any further into the setback as they already are. But the side setback, there's actually two different side setbacks for that zone. The first is 10 foot, and then the other would be the 50-foot shoreline protection, which I think we determined that they're in that area.
So would they need a shoreline permit?
No, they do not. The 50-foot is intended to preserve green space near the water. In this case, they're not changing green space. They're not taking away from it, and they're not adding to it. They're adding bulk to a non-conforming structure.
So they're already in the side setback? Okay, and so they're
Correct.
not encroaching any more into the side setback?
Correct.
They're just going up,
Yep.
straight? Okay.
Correct.
We have two very similar cases like this tonight, and one of them indicated the condo association had no problem with the corrections that you wanted to make on your place. Was that yours?
Yes. Yeah.
It's all in
It's-
here.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking quickly. But we have another one just like it at the other end of West
Yeah.
Boulevard.
But he has permission.
Right.
Yeah, we have our condo meeting every year. This year was July.
Yeah, it wasn't long though.
So I got approval from everybody there. It just happens I had to write myself a letter because I'm president. So, but I do have it in the minutes, in that packet there. I was approved by everybody else. And then I just kind of gave myself permission to write to you guys.
All right, let's give us-
I
give
remember
us
seeing it in
complete.
one of these.
Yeah. So you're not changing the height of the building or anything?
No.
Okay, you're
No.
just filling up some dead space.
If you look, kind of look at the pictures of the roof line, how it comes down as a steep slope, we're just going to be raising it up to be the same pitch as the other side.
There's a picture of the house.
But as far as the
Yeah, 'cause
peak goes,
these
the peak
pictures-
is still gonna
these
stay the
pictures
same.
are of one side, but you're going on the other side.
Right, it'll look like that though.
Yeah, it'll look like this, but it's just gonna be on the
Yeah.
other side.
Yeah,
Okay, I got it.
but the peak will be the same height, that's not changing at all.
So there's no increase in runoff, same amount of runoff, water runoff will be the same.
Yes.
No green space affected. Okay, any other questions of the applicant at this time? There being none, I'd like to, you may sit down just for a second. I'd like to open it up to the public and ask if anybody from the public wishes to speak for or against this application, please come forward at this time and introduce yourself for the record. Let the record indicate no one from the public wishes to speak for or against this application. Therefore, I bring it back to the board. Any other questions? There being no further questions, any closing comments? Does staff have any input on any of this?
No, I think this is a pretty straightforward application.
Very good. With that, I'm going to close it to the public and bring it to the board for discussion.
I'm okay with it.
Looks like a reasonable use for filling out that section of it. It's not going any direction other than filling out a couple of the bumps on the side.
Yep.
Shouldn't deter any of the neighbors, interfere with the view of any of the neighbors. Shouldn't change the character of the neighborhood.
So just, I guess, one more thing, I guess, if we're doing a variance, do you have the article in the section that we're giving a variance from, or is that, it's 235-1, I don't know, just for the minutes. It's probably going to be 235, something. Side setback,
235-35.
okay, we'll just do that.
Okay. Any other discussion? There being none, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve application 2018-0018, 556 Weirs Boulevard for a variance for section, Article 235-35 side setbacks. The granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest, and the spirit of the ordinance would not, would be observed. This is an addition to a seasonal home that is not extending the size. The footprint of the home at all is just going straight up to square off a dormer into a full-size room. It does not threaten the public health, safety, or welfare of the community. Granting the variance would do substantial justice. The use is a residential use consistent with the area's current use, and again, does no harm to the general public. Values of surrounding properties would not be diminished. Owing to the special conditions of the property, that it is already existing, it's already built into the side setback, and so, and since it's going up, you know, they have no place else to expand this property, basically, so going up is about all they can do. And there would be no benefit to the neighborhood in denying this variance, and the use is allowed in the district.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Mike seconded the motion. Discussion of the motion? There being none, all those in favor of the motion? The motion passes 5-0. Enjoy your domer.
Thank you. Thank you. Do I just get in touch with the building?
Yeah, get in touch with them. Just keep in mind that before you start construction, or if you do start construction, that there's a 30-day period that someone could ask for a rehearing or something like that. Not that they would, I'm not saying that, but I like to warn people because sometimes they get surprised when something happens. So just keep that in mind and for the next 30 days, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, as we moving along at the speed of light. Next application is 2018-0019, 441 Lakeside Avenue. The applicant is requesting a variance to add 2 dormers with a side setback, within the side setback. Would the applicant please come forward, introduce yourself for the record, and tell us how we can help you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dick Mayu. That's my wife, Patricia. And I have a few pictures here. I think they spelled your nameplate wrong. Mr. Mayu, is it? Mr. Mayu?
Different one.
No, I know, it's a joke.
Oh,
May I approach?
Yes.
That's the dormers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Size you if you want to see it. It's up to you.
Sure, and why not? Thank you.
Currently, I have a leaky roof, and we've been having a leaky roof for years, trying to find where the leak is. We've actually put a new roof on, 2015, still leaks. I've lost my kitchen ceiling 4 times. Now we're losing the bathroom ceiling on the first floor. We believe it's the deck. We dismantled the deck. We put weather shield on it, still leaks. Just have no idea where it is. So I'd like to put 2 dormers on, would actually match the home across the street, which we built. So we'll have 2 dormers, eliminates the decks, and I think it'll be a benefit to the community. It'll look better. I own the property on all 4 sides, except for the railroad tracks, which has a 66-foot wide easement, and it's not centered, so 36 feet is actually on the house side. And then there's a 10-foot setback. It's in the CR area, where there's no setbacks on homes in that area. Although I'm here because there's a 10-foot setback,
10-foot
because it's
setback on
residential.
What? I mean, he said there's no setbacks, there's a 10-foot setback, what?
So
What's
10-foot setback from the railroad.
So in other words, it's 46, 45 feet. So there's approximately a foot and a half that's into the 10 feet. So the existing home, which was built 68 years ago, actually encroached on that 10 feet. So it's always been there for 68 years, and I actually pay $180 to the railroad to have the deck where it currently exists. I didn't build the home, it was there, and we purchased it back in 2004, I believe.
So the deck is in the setback, but the house, I mean, I'm confused. I mean,
That's what I'm saying. The house is in the setback, and the deck is actually encroaching on the 66-foot
Oh.
easement.
So the house itself is in the setback, in the 10-foot setback, but it's been like that forever, since,
Correct.
okay.
So, if I'm looking at the picture from a downward scope, and the yellow area is the building envelope,
The yellow area is
Is the lot.
the lot,
is the lot.
right.
He's just looking to fill in these 2 areas.
Yeah. Well, my question would have been is so that's where the lot, and then 10 foot back from that would put it onto the side of the house? Okay. Okay.
10 foot back from where?
That yellow, big bold line going across the center of the deck. So 10 foot back from this line to here puts the house into the setback. And I guess that's why they're here, is because of that. Okay. Cool, man.
Are there any other questions? I mean, I could
So
continue.
So what you're doing is you're taking out the decks and you're filling that all in with living space?
I'm actually extending,
Extending the
there's 2
house?
bedrooms. It's a 3-bedroom home, and 2 bedrooms face the lake. So I'm eliminating the decks with dormers and extending the bedrooms out the 37 inches, or call it 4 feet. So they'd be eliminated. I eliminate the leaks I have that have been going on for years, and it just makes a more livable piece of property. And
So the roof, the new construction would come out to and match the existing center?
The decks, there's two decks. One is 9'7" in length, and the other one is 11'6". So what I'm gonna do is,
I think the question,
if this is the deck, I'm putting a dormer like this over it.
but
Oops,
I think
sorry.
the question is, you have a deck on the left. If you're facing the rear of the house, you got a deck on, an upper deck on the left, an upper deck on the right, and you have a center section that's
Correct.
already extended out to the edges of those two decks.
That's
So all
correct.
you're gonna do is fill in that left side and right side out to that center section to where it's all even going across.
Well, I'd like to have a little bit of relief, probably 6 inches or so, to give it some character. And we have, I already
So
purchased
it
the
moves
windows.
in and out a little.
Yeah. I mean, the eyebrow, as you can see, below the deck is already there, which is approximately how far we go anyways.
Yeah.
And
You're
you
just
say-
coming out to the end of the fencing, you're not coming any closer to the railroad.
No, except for, when we just like to design it so it looks
Yeah.
nicer. You know, we're gonna have the peak, and we're gonna have the crisscrosses to make it look rustic, Adirondack, et cetera.
And so the dormers, are they gonna be really high, or are they?
No, they're gonna be below the existing roof, so we're gonna tie into the existing roof. It's not a good picture because I'm down below when I took it, rather than level.
It'll tie into the center roof or to the rear roof?
The real roof.
Like
Like,
you got right here is gonna tie in with this roof, or will it be even with this roof?
I don't see anything wrong with that.
like this.
It looked good.
It's not coming out over the building.
Mr. Chairman, if I might,
We got these in our packets, so.
the two areas that he's gonna be filling in will have a gable end on them, a peak roof that will face the railroad, as opposed to being a slanted roof like the center portion.
Okay.
But I guess the point is, he's just filling in that dead space. He's not coming any substantially any further out, is what I'm trying to understand.
That's my
Yes.
understanding.
That's correct.
Okay. Any other questions of the applicant at this time? There being none, I'd like to open it up to the public and ask if anybody from the public wishes to speak for or against this application. Please come forward at this time and introduce yourself for the record. You may have a seat for a second. Let the record indicate no one from the public wishes to speak for or against this application. Therefore, I'll bring it back to the board. Any further questions? Any closing comments from the applicant? None? There being none, with that, I'm gonna close it to the public. Or any comments from planning before I?
Well, as you can see from the plot plan, there's no direction to go with this property if you want to do anything to the house, so, which is obviously why they're here, for their variance request, and it's a very difficult lot to do anything with.
Okay.
And the railroad's not involved at all in any of this?
They've been notified.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, like, it's really sort of harmless, and, you know, because they're just filling in, again, like the last one, they're filling in
Just filling in the
space,
voids.
yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? There being none, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Could I ask a question before we go? Can I have what the variance is from here on article section?
It's 235-35,
Yeah.
side setbacks,
Sorry.
right?
Yes.
I'll
But
make
if
a
he's staying on
motion.
the original building,
What?
if he's staying on the original building, why would he need a variance?
because
'Cause
it's intruding, go ahead.
Yeah, it's within the setback already, and he's increasing the
Oh,
bulk.
okay. I thought it was before the setback.
For the same reason that, of the first one. It was-
These older properties are, yeah.
Okay, like to entertain a motion?
All right, I'd like to, make a motion for ZO 201800019, 4041 Lakeside Ave, for a variance of 235-35 setbacks. This is in addition to fill in some decks that are previously there. It's a building that's already non-conforming, and it's not gonna make it any more non-conforming than it already is. I'd say, it is not contrary to the public interest. The spirit of the ordinance is observed, substantial justice is done, and the value of the surrounding properties are not diminished. Unnecessary hardship on this is a very tight lot, and given that special position would be considered a hardship.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Although, any discussion of the motion? All those in favor of the motion? Motion passes 5-0. Enjoy your new dormers.
Thank you very much. Thank you again. You don't want them, I'll take them.
We
Doing
need
the
one
friends.
set for,
Already
you
got
got a set.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And by the way, on that last one, it was for an approval.
No
I
approval.
think that got mentioned in there, but for the record, it was for an approval.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I meant to say something prior, but. Next on the agenda is 2018-0020, 62 Winnisquam Ave. The applicant is requesting a variance to build an enclosed porch over an existing deck. Would the applicant please come forward, introduce yourself for the
Yeah, my name is
record,
Mark
and-
Mackey.
And tell us how we may help you.
Well, I'm improving the already existing deck and wanting to enclose it for more storage space. The house being built when it was has little to no closet space and very small lot. So instead of having a deck, I'd like to enclose it and increase some storage area.
Are you increasing it for living space?
No, it's going to be for storage.
Storage only?
Yeah. The closets are like, a house in that era, the closets are very small. There's one in each upstairs bedroom, and that's all we have for closet space.
Do we have the dimensions of the addition that you're putting on?
About 4 feet by 10.
Sorry, I'm just his friend
This
and
is
helping
Jay.
him out. My name is Jay Bernier. And it's 16 by 12. It's the same size as the deck that was there already.
So the deck that's there is 16 by 12?
Yes, ma'am.
And again, you're just filling this in?
Yes, ma'am.
And closing it?
Yes, ma'am.
And the reason that you're here is, again, there's a setback, a side setback? And do we know how much?
That's the place it's already framed.
Do you know how much they're going into the side
They're
setback?
not going any further into the side setback, they're just adding to the.
Oh, okay.
They're just
So
going
they're
up.
not encroaching
They're-
anymore?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a addition of the nonconformity.
And if I was looking at this picture, are they
the next one. There you go. See the porch right there.
So is the whole lot in a setback?
Pretty close. You could probably get a 1950s era mobile home right down the middle, maybe, but other than
Those lots
that,
are pretty small down there.
So
So
say
it's-
they built this and then they just turned it into living space, does that make a difference? Or do we need to deal with that? or-
no, it's, they're creating habitable space. If they convert it to bedroom or living room or whatever, as long as they meet the life safety codes with windows, and which they do, doesn't really matter to us.
Space is space.
Right.
Enclosed space is enclosed
Correct.
space. And that's not going the whole width of the
No,
side of the house?
no.
Okay.
What's the second building in the rear?
Garage.
Okay.
When you're looking in from Winnisquam Avenue, this is on the left or the
It's
right?
behind the house.
What?
When you're looking in from Winnisquam, it's behind the
Oh,
house.
it's behind the house.
Yeah,
What was that place on the side, on the left side? It looks like it's being framed.
it's behind the house. It's not on the side, it's behind the house.
Oh, okay.
That's being framed,
Yeah, I didn't walk down in, I just.
yeah.
Okay. Have we looked at the footprint from the city standpoint? Because that's awful close to that lot line, and that's why because the corner of the house looks like it's just kissing it all over the place, and
Right, it's further from the side than the main part of the house. And I think
my curiosity was, we had a garage that they thought was off of that problem, and that corner fell right into a problem, and
right.
I'd hate to.
It looks like they'll be 3 or 4 feet off the property line, which the deck currently is, and that has not been disputed.
So the deck's good, then that should be good, using that as, very good. Okay, that makes me feel better. Any other questions at the moment? There being none, have a seat for a second, please.
Okay, thank you.
And I'd like to open it up to the public and ask if anybody from the public wishes to speak for or against this application, please come forward and introduce yourself for the record.
I'm Harold Martell, and I own the property on the line that he's building, and I have no problem with it. Okay?
Thank you. Is there anybody else from the public who wish to speak for or against this application?
Yeah, the name's Ralph Langevin. I own Belknap Marina across the street. There's a bunch of issues I have a problem with. Number one is, if you do the research on that property, when we built that deck, a few years ago, the neighbor that just got up and spoke, which I don't want to get into a pissing contest with anybody, turned the morals in for building the deck. And
Ma'am, please hold yourself.
It's all public record. And at the time when we built the deck, we could not attach it to the house because it was actually considered a patio. So That being said, I don't have a problem with that, but that deck was torn down, a new deck was built. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with what he's doing. The problem I have is the city's lackadaisical, this whole thing. Everybody else has to do, we have to get a permit, we have to have footing inspections, we have to have this, that, and the other thing. And this thing just keeps going on and on and on. And you read the letter and he's applicant to build this, well, it's already built. The other, you got two setbacks that you've got a problem with. You've got a boundary line dispute going on right now with the property. I've got the survey that the other abutter gave me. He would have liked to come tonight, but he couldn't. I honestly believe that they haven't met the green space setback. So like I said, it's fine if you guys approve it, but everybody else has to go through A, B, C, and D. And if we can just start off at D from now on, then that's fine. And I hope you set that standard for everybody else and just don't make an exception for this one case because it's built or because of ignorance of the law. So that being said, I've got nothing else to say. Other than, if he is going to do it, then I would like to see it built to code, just like I've had to do. Okay? Thank you very much.
And we'll race to those questions. Anybody else from the public wish to speak for or against this application, please come forward at this time. Let the record indicate no one else wish to come to the microphone and speak for or against this application, so therefore I will close it to the public and ask the public to restrain themselves from additional comments from the floor and bring it back to the board for further questions. Shall you ask or shall I ask?
Boundary line adjustment dispute, what do we do?
The city does nothing, that's a civil matter. If an abutter feels that the correct boundary line is not being observed, then that's strictly a civil matter. We have no way of knowing whether the boundary line is correct or not, according to deeds and how all the deeds in the area overlay. What's in the yellow on the page is what the assessor's office feels the lot is based on their research.
And actually, this doesn't infringe in any way off the property, so it's within the existing footprint according to the assessor's records. Is that what you're saying?
Well, the proposed addition is, I mean, there's a lot going on in this neighborhood. Almost no structures are conforming under current standards. And
So
if someone wants to contest the boundary line, then they would have to do that in court.
The other thing he said is that this is already built.
They did come in, this is how we found out about it. They came in for an after-the-fact building permit. So it will be inspected and it will be built to, if it's not built to correct standards, then it will be either corrected or torn down.
So we're doing a variance on something that's already done.
They're not completely finished, but it has started. And then there was a realization that there was a building permit needed, and when they came in for the building permit, that's when we talked about the setbacks and those kinds of things.
Okay. Any further questions of the applicant?
Of the applicant?
Yes, we haven't hit discussion yet.
I guess I do. So something on it, maybe I misunderstood.
Would the applicant please come back?
Just a quick question, because if I'm, just want to understand. The deck, was the deck that existed before you started attached to the house?
The deck was there, deconstructed and reconstructed in the same footprint.
But was it attached to the house?
It was lag screwed to the house, yeah.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't, I'm just trying to figure out,
It was screwed right to the house, yeah.
Doesn't really matter,
doesn't,
no.
Yep, that would be the proper way to do that.
Well, whether it was attached or unattached is irrelevant to what we're trying to approve tonight. Because even if it wasn't attached, it wouldn't have any bearing on approving an addition. Because basically, he's looking for an addition to the house because they tore the deck down, so it's not being built on top of the deck. He's put in new footers based on the testimony being given here, on something that's been pre-built, that there should have been a proper foundation and or pylons or whatever it's called, put in place with the correct footers underneath. So that meant that it's an addition being added to the house, whether it be a closet, storage, or whatever they want to call the thing.
yeah. So did they have a building permit from when they started?
Not when they started, no. At some point in time during the process, they realized they needed a building permit and they came in to get one, and that's when we discussed the setback issues.
So, okay, so.
So we have not issued a building permit yet because they're non-conforming. If you were to approve the variance, we will issue the building permit and we will do inspections.
And
just, because it was a deck, it goes to deck from living space, is the green space all right on this line?
Yeah, the green space is not affected. The deck would have been considered coverage before. They're not changing coverage.
okay. Any other questions of the applicant? Any closing comments?
No, sir.
Okay, you may have a seat. With that, I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the board for discussion. So basically what we're here tonight is to look at an addition. Any way you look at it, to me, it's an addition being added to the house. It's not being built on top of a deck where you're taking the current deck and, like some people do, and enclose their current deck. This is, the deck's been dismantled. They've started the appearance of an addition. Whatever they want to use that addition for is not up to the board. It's just additional enclosed living space. Okay. It appears that the structure was started prior to receiving a building permit, which is up to, it doesn't matter to us one way or the other, because if it's not approved, they have to tear it down anyway. So that's their problem. Okay. Ours is, do we feel that this structure would let me step back. Would granting a variance for them to build a addition to their house is what's being brought before the board? Correct, basically, to sum it up?
Yes.
Okay, so whether or not it was started has no bearing on it. Would it meet all the criteria that we would apply to anything as if it was a blank piece of paper? Okay, is basically what we're looking at and how we would treat this, or should treat it. Each individual, you have to decide upon yourselves how you feel about it and stuff. So, to me,
However, the application clearly says they want an enclosed porch, but I guess it's semantics, but.
Yes, but you would have to have a porch there to enclose. When it was, based on the input from the applicant, it was removed, and they started afresh. It appears no different than any other addition that would be added. May it have been a dormer, or may it be anything, it's gonna be there, taking the place of a current structure. And I do believe in the code that you can build within that same type of footprint a house, but that only doesn't retain to a deck, I don't think. It would just, so it's nothing grandfathered in to allow that. So it's all basically new. And that's why the variance is here. It would be all considered new. Because I don't think a deck is considered part of a rebuild grandfather type work. The main structure of the house, if it was being replaced, would be that grandfathered clause, I think.
The deck is considered a structure. All structures must be out of the setback or receive a variance.
Right.
I don't know when the original deck was done, and I don't
No, that there was.
I don't know if there was a building permit for it or not.
Right.
At this point in time, I'm not sure that it's germane. They're asking to do an addition and get a variance at this point in time.
Right.
And we'll need a building permit.
So it just boils down to, do you think it meets the same criteria of being able to build a structure within that setback?
Well, there was a structure there before, so.
It's not gonna add, it's not gonna do anything plus or minus. It's not gonna hinder the area. It's not gonna improve well, it could improve the area. Then improve the person's area. Yes, sir.
There's nothing that's protruding out from the house line and the garage line.
No,
I mean,
you're saying that as a positive or a negative?
that's a positive.
Okay. It's not increasing anything other than the same position it's in. Any other discussion? Anybody like to attempt a motion?
I'll do it. So I'll make a motion to approve application 2018-20. The applicant is requesting to add a 16 by 12 addition to his house, which is located over wood construction. Supposedly, there's an existing deck there, and so it will be an addition in the same space as the existing deck. So there's, they're not encroaching anymore into the side setback, and there's no change in coverage on the lot. Granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest, and the spirit of the ordinance is observed. As I just stated, this is in addition to a home. It will be used for storage and, who knows, living space, whatever, but it's consistent, it's a consistent use with the neighborhood. Granting the variance will do substantial justice. Again, the use is consistent with the area's current use and character, and will do no harm to the general public. Values of surrounding properties would not be diminished. Hardship exists on the lot due to the configuration of the lot and the nonconformity that exists already. They're, as I said before, they're not increasing any more into the side setback, but the whole building is already in non-conforming and in the side setback, so that is the hardship. There's no other really place to go. And again, the use is allowed in the district.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Discussion? Yes, I'd like discussion of the motion. I'd like to apply some conditions to this. The conditions I would like to add to this motion are gonna be that before any other work is done on this, that a permit has been applied for, the plans have been reviewed, and that the site has been inspected to ensure that it meets the plans that have been forwarded to the planning department. If the plans do not miss, are not submitted and do not meet what has been requested, then I would like to say this variance is not go into force.
Understood.
I think that's about the only thing we can condition this for, because the other part I would love to do is figure out about the boundary lines, but there's nothing we can do about that at this point, because right now we building it on the ones we have. So I mainly want to keep it to the building permit, and that the plans provided to the building or to the appropriate departments within the city be reviewed and on-site reviewed prior to the variance being enacted. Is that properly spoke to what we're trying to accomplish, if my portion of the condition is accepted by the board? Okay. So is the condition good for you?
Yeah.
And for the second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Okay. Motion is passed. Okay?
So what happens next?
What happens next, you gotta provide the planning, you gotta get in touch.
Is the plans in your folder? Is all my drawings in the folder?
Sir, that has nothing, I don't know if that's the appropriate plans or anything. You need to talk with the planning department and see what they require for you to do to continue your work. Until then, there's nothing else that can be done on that until all that has been done and a permit and everything's been inspected to code.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. With that, we're going to move on to application 2018-0021, 416 Layton Ave South. Applicant requests a variance to build a deck that will encroach into the shoreline protection district and add a second floor to an existing garage that is located within the front and side setbacks. Would the applicant please come forward, introduce yourself?
I'm Chuck Williams, the contractor for the Sharmers.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And how might we help you?
It's the typical thing that I think the house is already within the setback. We're looking to add on to it a single story, I think it's 8 by 26 or 8 by 27 addition for a kitchen.
No?
Do I know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's written down. I forgot about this meeting.
Application is really not a lot of detail, so.
I'm gonna say 8 by 27.
It says 8, I think it says 8 by 26.
All right, then it's 8 by 26. Whatever I wrote down is what it is.
This letter says something entirely different. Build a kitchen addition, a deck, and to add second story to an existing garage.
Yeah, the garage is detached.
The garage
I don't
is
see
in
the,
there,
I don't see a garage in this photo.
You won't see it. It's buried in the trees up by the
yeah. I went
road.
down there yesterday, I couldn't see how
Yeah.
to see the house.
Well, you can see that. You can see it all if you're there, but from that topographical, you can't see the garage.
What's the purpose of the addition to the garage?
They plan to retire here within the next year or two, and they have no storage. Like, the basement is kind of damp and maybe 6 foot. So that was the purpose for the garage, to put a second story on that.
So, and the garage itself is 26 by 26, and you're just going straight up?
Going straight up, tear the roof off, put a new roof on it.
Will you be adding plumbing inside that garage?
No.
Will you be adding any additional electricity of?
I'm sure there'll be outlets. We haven't really discussed it, but yeah, I would not be surprised.
But you're not creating living space?
No.
What are they gonna do with the second story?
What's
Storage,
that?
you said.
What are they gonna do with the second story in
They
the
said
garage?
storage.
Storage?
Yeah, because they plan on moving up here. I guess they're from Massachusetts, live in a large house. And this house, like, it's a lake house. The height in the basement might be like this. So they need storage.
So we got three things going on here?
Correct.
Yeah.
The addition for the, proposed addition for the kitchen
Yeah, kitchen.
is not an issue. It's out of the setbacks.
So, all right, so why is it part of this application? It's not? So we don't have to deal with the kitchen?
No, right?
Both these
No,
letters
just
talk
the-
about
the
kitchen.
deck
The-
isn't-
the
The only
deck-
thing that's in there is the deck that
The
actually.
proposed deck and then the second story to the garage.
Yeah, the deck attaches to the
I
kitchen.
mean, they're gonna be doing the kitchen at the same time, obviously, but
The kitchen is in the main house that you're gonna be working on.
Yeah.
So it's a 12 by 22-foot deck, and it's going into the side or front setback?
It's going into the shoreline
Shoreline
protection
protection.
district.
right.
The front facing the
So do
lake.
they have a shoreline protection, do they have a permit from the state? Do they need one?
Shoreline's quite a ways.
Well, I'm not going past the existing house.
Right.
I don't know if that matters
Yeah, I think.
with the
well,
shoreline, but
No, this is our 50-foot shoreline protection ordinance, and again, it's to provide green space along
But isn't
the
there,
shorefront.
is there a
It-
state shoreline protection district that is in effect there too?
Isn't it 50
Leighton,
feet?
yes, it would be the 250. They would have to get a permission by notification. We'll make sure we do that before we do building permits. As you can see by the overhead, there's a patio and walkway, more or less where they're proposing the deck,
I don't, where do you see that?
yeah, it's a concrete patio. That's going away.
right in the corner of the structure. So they're basically swapping the new deck with the concrete patio that's already there.
Right.
Where's the garage in this picture?
It's in the trees.
It's hanging
Yeah,
up under the trees here?
Right up here in the,
It's really hard to see in that photo.
upper
And
right.
so, because the garage is within the side setback,
Front
Sir.
setback.
front
Yeah.
setback,
Both,
both,
Yeah, probably both.
is why it needs it for
for the second story,
the
yes.
second story, all right.
Oh, I'm sorry, say that, the garage is in what?
In the front and the side setback. In this corner.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's, which corner is it in?
The upper,
This one?
yeah. There it is.
Right there. It's right up, next to the street.
So there, you need, so the deck is going into the, I'm trying to figure out what we're giving a variance for.
The deck is going into the 50-foot shoreline protection setback for pervious surfaces.
And how many, do we know how many feet is going in?
I would say approximately,
I think the applicant needs to tell us how far.
I mean, yeah, we don't have enough information here to,
How far, where?
we need actual feet, you know, if you're going into a setback, I mean, how far are you going into the setback? I mean,
Yeah, I honestly, I was out to dinner when they text me and remind me of this meeting. I didn't have anything with me. I didn't write it on there, any measurements?
can you get more information?
No.
Just like-
the existing three-season room on the front, on the waterfront side of the house is already 100% within
Yeah,
the shoreline protection overlay, and part of the main part of the house, right behind that porch, is also already in the 50-foot setback. The patio, the concrete patio that's already there is mostly within the 50-foot setback. So from a green space standpoint, which is what we're trying to protect with this setback, there really is very little change in terms of the amount of green space they have and the amount of non-porous,
But wouldn't it be
non-porous
prudent for
surface.
us to know how many feet so it could be in the application? Because what if then they just change their mind and they say, oh, we have a variance to go into the front setback, so we'll just add a couple of feet, you know? It just, I don't know,
Well, when they come in for the building permit, we're gonna bounce it against this.
yeah, the measurements are there.
things change.
I know, but I mean, when I apply for the permit, I'll be writing those same measurements.
It's just a sketch, it's not a,
I know, but it's not like something I really
not
need
to
to.
scale. I mean, you know what I mean? Nothing's to scale.
I hear you. I just thought it was a simple addition. I didn't think I'd have to, you know, like get like drawings.
Variance, yeah, I mean, you're asking to break the law, and so, you know, in order to break the law, we need to know what we're breaking.
I understand.
How much we're breaking it by?
Any other questions at the moment? With that, have a seat, please.
Yeah.
I'm going to open it up to the public and ask if anybody from the public wishes to speak for or against this application. Please come forward at this time and introduce yourself for the record.
Ralph Langeman, again, this probably isn't the time and the place, but I guess I'm really concerned sitting back here, and you're questioning this guy about his 50-foot setbacks in the Shoreline Protection Act, but the application prior to this, there was no mention of it. And I think that's very unfair. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
It wasn't relevant.
Excuse me?
It wasn't relevant.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Side setback?
No, green,
The setback
Shoreline
to the water?
Protection Act. He's in the 50-foot Shoreline Protection Act. The last applicant was, and it was never brought up.
Are you saying that that house
Is within 50 feet of the shore?
feet
Yes.
of Lake Winnisquam?
Yes.
Excuse me.
But like I said, it's got nothing to do with this one, so I apologize. But I just wanted to get that out in the open.
Thank you for pointing that out. So, anybody else from the public wish to speak for or against this application? Please come forward at this time and introduce yourself for the record. Let the record indicate no one else from the public wishes to speak for or against this application, so therefore I bring it back. Any further questions
Questions?
of the applicant?
No.
Any closing comments? Okay, with that, I'm gonna close it to the public and bring it to the board for discussion.
Well, I just think the application's not complete. you know, we don't have the shoreline thing, I mean, it just, you know, I know we can continue to put conditions on, but when applicants come before us, their application should be a little bit more complete, so that we know what we're dealing with and what we're permitting. That's just my thought. I mean, I don't have a problem with this, but I have a problem with the process, I guess.
Well, I think what we need to do, as far as that would be concerned, is go back to our bylaws, I guess, that we operate under.
We've been through this before. And we asked for more complete information, so I don't know, just things change and, you know, whatever, but I think it's all in there.
Okay. We can bring that up under other business. So,
Question here myself.
I'm sorry?
Question here myself. So, some of what we're looking at here and why I'm a little bit confused, and maybe I'm not trying to be a prude here, is this one single variance? We're looking at a setback from the 50-foot, our ordinance, 50-foot shoreline, and it comes into this corner where some of this house already is. The whole front is, you know, 676, if it's 26 by 26, yeah. Some stuff like that as impact or how far in you're going would be more comfortable on this application. So is that two different variances? Is what I'm asking? Or is it one variance? I mean, we're talking about another detached building over here, and I'm just trying to see if I'm looking at two different variances, or if it's just one variance, the 50-foot at the front of the house.
Yeah, it is confusing.
See
And
what-
and our rules do say scale drawings with accurate measurements and dimensions. Should be submitted with the application, so I don't know. It just, is it two applications or is it one?
It's one application, and we've...
Two variances in one application?
It's one variance on the piece of property. I guess it would be two variances, but it would be no different than other ones we've done.
How would we approve one and not the other?
It could be that way.
It
Someone
can be
could
that
have
way.
an objection, you know, be vehemently objecting the addition, or not. I know that it didn't happen, but as we discuss it, you look at it at two different values, two different
Because
occurrences.
one doesn't have to pertain with the other.
Right.
So if you chose not to do the garage, deny the garage, you have to go through the motions of the 5 and say which one do you're basing that on, and then you would talk about the deck. And then that would be approved on its own.
Not
Or if you
necessarily trying
choose
to
to
grow
use
it
it
that
as
way.
one, but if you choose to go with one, then if you don't like the deck or you don't like the garage, you're denying the whole thing in one motion. So basically, the application is for both under one vote. So if I had to look at that from that standpoint, I would say it would be one vote, all or none, the way it was written. Is that correct?
You could do that, or you could divide the question if you wanted to.
So,
Again, I don't think it's an issue of,
or you can ask continuance and ask for more information.
I'd just like to know the specifics of what we're approving, and I just don't think we have them.
Then you can,
You know, it's just, there's a sketch here, but there's really no sketch of where no plot plan of where on the lot this
Existing
addition
site
goes.
conditions
Yeah, I
and
mean,
proposed.
I can see that, you know, he has drawings of what they want to do, and they're very rudimentary, but, you know, but as far as, you know, the encroachment into the front setback, we really don't know. I mean, we're just assuming. I don't know. It's just lacking information on my part, but I don't, whatever you guys
Is
wanna
it
do.
lacking enough that you would want to continue it and have them,
Is it a big hardship for the owner? I don't think so.
well, if, it could be if they were deciding to want to complete it before winter,
Well, they still need permission from the state. I mean,
yeah?
I don't know. How does everybody else feel?
The garage is right up against the road. I'm a little concerned with having a two-story garage right against the road. I see the neighbors each have a garage right on the road edge. And it turns into, like down on Pogus Park Road, where you have all these tool sheds right up on the road. And they're convenient for some people, but unsightly. And they have room inside of the building area that's allowed to build on.
But like,
There's a
but we
steep
don't even
bank,
know
though.
where on the lot that garage is. You know what I mean?
Well,
We have
I can
nothing. I mean,
basically see by the plot plan that Rob showed where the garage is, and you can see a little driveway there for it.
Ken?
But turning it into a two-story
see it.
building, I think would be unsightly. I'm surprised the
I
neighbors-
do not see a garage on this plot plan anywhere. Or a
Rob
road
had it,
Or access.
brought it up.
Yeah, but that's just the assessing thing. Yeah. Ooh, that is right on the road.
They're all like that on that road.
And if you moved it
But you don't,
back,
it doesn't show up. You'd think,
This
because
is a
it
map.
shows, doesn't show up on
of
this
the road, of the
All the
property.
aerial
driveways
view.
up top, and then there's that garage and the driveways
Yeah,
down
it's
below.
a good-
But it looks like all the other ones on this lot are right up there too, so I can't, I guess that's not, you know, I don't know if they're two-story or not, I'd have, you know, but I would just like more information, but it's just me. I hate to hold people up, but
If you don't think there's adequate information to provide you with the proper decision, then
I would like to see it sort of drawn out on the, you know, so that we can see where it's going on the lot, where these two additions are on the lot. We don't have any information about where they're going on the lot.
okay, so,
I mean, am I
Is
crazy?
that a-
Well,
No, I
they're
think-
showing it on the yellow part here. It shows the kitchen addition,
Where?
where it's penciled in on the left side of the house. Well, if you're on the lake, the left side of the house. You see where it
Kinda
has.
just, somebody just
it's-
took a pencil
Right,
and,
it's
you
penciled
know,
in there. That's,
Is that how accurate is that? I mean, somebody just took a pencil and
well,
drew a
the next page, he
square.
has dimensions.
I don't know.
Eight by 26.
See, I think the house addition is okay, but the garage addition is questionable.
I think the only problem we have with the house is the nearness to the lake. I
But
think they're
it's
very-
already existing inside the setback. You have like 12 feet of the house inside the shoreline area. So there's really just this little section would be the new addition, and that would only be an open deck.
On the page
What
to
do you
the
mean it'll be an
downs,
open deck? It's not, it's gonna be filled in, it's gonna be built up.
No,
Oh, the deck,
right.
oh.
The kitchen is in a legal area
We don't
already.
even- We didn't even ask if it was is it an enclosed deck? Is it an open deck? What is it? We don't know.
it's open. It's a deck. Deck, not a porch.
So,
so what does the board wish?
I think we need more information.
I'd like to see this whole thing clarified and a better visual of what we're approving on the lot.
Okay, so that's a motion to continue this to the next meeting in order to allow proper information on the distances and
And the
within,
encroachment.
and the encroachment, how much encroachment is being requested,
And that they apply to the state for their permit.
and an actual drawing that shows the garage location and
Yeah.
respect to everything else.
Plot plan.
plot plan doesn't show the garage.
Sir, we'll be with you in a second.
That's all we got.
So, is that what the board wishes?
You know, on the face of this, I'm fine with this whole lakeside. It's curious that we don't have a plot plan though for where the garage is. Or 600 square feet of addition. I don't know.
So is that a yes?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Mike? Yes. Okay. So 5 of us wish to continue this to the next meeting. Please place it first on the agenda, and the additional information that we would request would be for the dimensions, the layout, how far back into the setback is it being requested to go into the, to the 50-foot setback, and the location of the actual garage where it's at, unfiltered by the trees, and
And info on the state permit.
yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Does that cover everything? Anything else we need to ask of them so that, okay. So, basically, we're gonna continue this to the next meeting, and what's gonna be requested, they'll give you a formal document, saying what's being requested, but we need, the layout of where that garage is and relationship on the property, and further information on the, how far into the 50-foot setback is this going?
Sure.
And information relative to that. They'll give you,
Plot plan is not good enough for that, where the garage is. I can't use that.
There's no,
What?
we can't, there's no garage anywhere on this plot plan.
The plot plan that Rob put up shows it clearly. I can get you guys a copy of that if you'd like.
well, we need the dimensions and stuff on that, showing the location of the other parts where it's going into the shoreline protection and the action on the shoreline protection.
That's understandable. I get that.
Okay?
I just did the neighbor's house last year. Gave you guys the same rudimentary drawings, and, I mean, we're talking exact same, just about, except minus the kitchen addition, which isn't even a factor. Passed, no problem, but for whatever reason tonight, it's not good enough. I mean, almost the identical project.
It hasn't been denied. So all we're asking is further information.
To waste a month that we could be building.
Well,
Well, I can assure you of something else too. It's this same board's been sitting for the last 2 years, and we've done a lot on Layton Avenue. And I think that we've followed the letter of the law in all those
No, I
decisions.
understand, and, I mean, it's just making the neighborhood better. Nobody's gonna complain about a 2-story garage. I mean, if you saw the garage now, it needs to be done. That's all, whatever. So I come back in a month, is that the deal?
yes, sir.
All right, thanks.
You'll be first on the agenda. Okay.
Can you, did you have a motion to continue or just?
Yeah. I thought we did. We
You
passed
started it,
by.
I don't think you ever finished it.
Okay. Need a motion to continue?
Motion to continue,
Second the motion.
2018-0021, upon further information for placement of the garage on the lot, intrusion into setbacks, and
Dimensions of.
dimensions.
Okay?
Second.
We got a second? All those in favor? Oh, 5.
Thank you.
Okay. Last is application 2018-0022, 35 Massachusetts Avenue. The applicant is requesting a variance from the front setback in order to build a deck in the front of the property. Would the applicant come forward, introduce yourself for the record, and tell us how we may help you?
Not here?
Not here.
Do y'all wish to continue? Does the board wish, without opening this application, we have not opened it now, because the applicant is not here.
On their behalf.
Okay.
Has not shown up.
Do we want to continue this to the next meeting, or do you want to dismiss it without prejudice?
What does that mean?
That means that they're not here, so the applicant, we can hear based on, there's several options. You can hear it.
Would he have to pay
You
the
don't hear it
$125
in the
again?
past, any application without an applicant here, okay?
If we,
Oh, I'm sorry.
if we dismiss without prejudice, and he wants to appear before the board again, does he has to
Start all over?
reapply and pay the $125 in the whole?
Yes.
Yes,
Let's give him a month.
or you can continue, or you can, allow them to, I don't want to say continue because we're not opening it, so I don't want that word even associated with it.
You'd be tabling.
We would table this till the next meeting. So that's your three options.
Somebody has to be here to present?
Not really, under the law, do they?
Not
No.
under the law, no,
No.
but
But as part of our bylaws, it is.
But if we vote against him, he's not gonna be too happy.
'Cause it seems like, you know, the application is really well drawn out with full details.
Yeah, our things don't say that. Our rules don't say that they have to be present. So this is a kind of a kooky one. We've never done this before. We usually just table. But this is such a small situation.
You don't have an opportunity to ask any questions, you don't have any.
Yeah, I'd rather wait.
I'm willing to give him a month.
Okay.
So if you
Table.
have a question, you don't have an answer, then that creates doubt, and then you would have to deny on doubt.
And they were totally aware that they needed to be here?
They provided a letter because they were not able to attend to have somebody present it to them. I presented that letter to the board before.
Oh, yeah, so this, and the guy just didn't show
And
up?
the person that was presenting didn't show up.
Okay, so that's.
Oh,
let's
I
just-
thought it was that one,
No,
I'm
let's
sorry.
just table it then and give them another chance to come back in November.
All right, we have a motion to table till the next meeting.
I'll second that.
We have a second. All those, discussion of that tabling? There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So tabled, it'd be second on the agenda. Please.
So we should keep these, cause we'll see
Yeah.
that
Yes.
again.
Yep.
This would be the first one.
Can I ask a question? Down on Layton Avenue, we had that Quonset hut a few months ago that we told the people that they had to take down. It was holding
On
heavy
Daisy-
equipment.
That was on Daisy Gardner Road.
Daisy Gardner.
Yeah.
I noticed they took down the staging, but the Quonset hut is still there. Are they going to completely take that building down, or is this as far as they're going?
they're going to, they removed the storage container?
They removed the storage containers from the lot, and they got a building permit to move the hut back, so it was not within the setbacks, and they're using cement blocks as opposed to using the storage containers, which weren't allowed on the lot.
So they're gonna conform to the setback as, I don't know if you remember, Roland, where they had the front row of the storage container, it was within the front setback. So they've removed the storage containers, and when they replace the Quonset hut, it'll be further from the road so that it meets the setback. They did get a building permit for that.
Can I ask a question, staff?
Yes?
Could, and again, it's the same thing with this application. Could I ask that these applications, you know, that the zoning districts be filled in, and when it says variance, from what section in the future, so that it's easier for me to go then look in what the side setback is, because right now I have to guess. I'm sitting home reading these and I'm like, what's the variance from? Is it a side setback, you know, or, you know, the article, the section, and, you know, then I can go look at the chart.
Yes, I apologize about that. Next time, if something like that is missed, if you just give me a call, we can.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't get to stuff till today, and it was like late, and I just said, oh geez. I started going through these, and I'm like, so it's minor, but it helps me, or us, you know, to do our homework before the meeting, to make things smoother, to know exactly what the variance is for, and the feet. You know, if they want a variance into the setback, how many feet, you know, just make things a little clearer and easier, so we don't get into all these discussions.
I do understand, and I appreciate your concern, Suzanne, and we will do our best to make it clearer, but I just want to state to the board, these are the applicant's applications.
Right.
But don't you have the right to ask them for more information?
And we sometimes do,
Oh, okay.
and sometimes it's like pulling teeth.
Oh, I know, I appreciate
You know,
that.
for whatever reason, either they don't understand why we need the information or what the process is, or sometimes it's a matter of they think if they give up more information, they're somehow revealing something that they don't want to reveal, or I don't know. I mean, you know, but I mean, sometimes it's like pulling teeth to try to get information
I
sometimes.
do, but if they want a variance, it's gotta be for a certain amount of feet, and somebody's gotta know who
Yeah.
that, what
Well,
that is.
Or area, or, yeah.
I look at it this way, if they don't provide the information to the planning department, and if we feel the need, we need to have that information, instead of trying to put the onus on the planning department, the onus is on the applicant, and therefore they show up at the meeting, and if we go, how many feet, and they go, it's not on the thing, then we just continue it to the next meeting. And after they get 1 or 2 months' worth of delays, maybe they will understand why that question is asked, you know?
Can I go back
Instead
to-
of, it's not their fault that the applications are being delivered to them incomplete, because they can't force them. But
Can I get back to that Daisy Gardner again? I thought the problem wasn't just the side setbacks. I thought it was allowing that type of activity to go on in that particular,
No, the issue there was the setbacks and the storage containers. The storage containers were not allowed in that
okay.
zone. The actual
something to do with
Quonset
that.
hut itself is like a storage building, or as long as they meet setbacks, then you can, and get a building permit, obviously, you can do that.
okay.
How are you dealing with, My Box around here? They seem to be fairly strong business, seem to be,
they're storage containers.
They are, yeah, I mean, we're basically gonna treat them as a shed, and therefore they gotta meet all the criteria of a shed.
but that's
Those
not a
yellow
Conex
storage
box?
boxes or sheds?
I mean, it depends on how they're being used. Sometimes they're on the property for a short amount of time because somebody's moving or whatever, and they're just putting stuff in it, and then it's gonna go away, in which case, I mean, we're not gonna worry about it, but,
Rent those
there-
for long-term?
you can, yeah. You
There's gonna be a
can,
lot more of that too, with that new place in Tilton.
right.
That's what it is, that's what I'm referencing.
So it's a case-by-case situation based on how they're using it and where they wanna put it on the property.
Interesting.
So, I must ask the board, because this is the second time an applicant has not been here. Is it the board's wishes to continue not entertaining applications without a presence of the applicant? Or do y'all wish to do that? Because I don't want to, what I'm looking for is something more where we're going to do it for every applicant the same way. So that one's not being picked and one's not, and everything, so there's no favoritism, appearance of favoritism being applied to one application over another, so that they're all applied the same. Okay, that's just something we can defend in court, is if we say we continue everyone to the next meeting and give them a one-time not continue, there's that word again,
Table.
tabled till the next meeting. Okay?
That's a good point.
Because we're gonna sit and have that discussion, and I'd rather not have that discussion every time it happens. And then we could just say, if they're not here, boom, we're gonna table it, and give them a one-time table, or whatever.
And so how did we deal with it when Aqua Soleil came for extensions and Mr. Dupree wasn't here?
It was tabled to
Yeah,
the next
we
meeting.
didn't do it.
We didn't do it. And applications prior, this is the two most recent,
Yeah.
but there's been prior ones, they're few and far between, and so that's why I think it catches us off surprise. I've probably had 5 in my 15 years of being here, doing this.
Did 35 Mass Ave call and say they weren't gonna be here tonight?
Somebody was supposed to be here for him.
Someone was supposed to be here. I mean, we make it very clear to the applicant that they or a representative need to be here for the meeting.
Maybe we're a little hasty tonight. Maybe we should set a precedent that, if they're not here, too bad.
Well, that's why those are the options you can, if it was, I think that's extreme on a first case,
I think since I've been on this board, this is the first time it's happened.
Yeah, it hasn't happened in a while.
it doesn't happen that often. That's why I was trying to get something so that we can not try to have the discussion more than once in our lifetime.
I feel that the applicant should be here.
So, with that being said, do we, if they're not here, or a representative of that applicant not here, then do we table it to the next meeting?
Table it, yeah. And give them one chance to.
And one chance, and then we can move on from that decision if they choose not to show up a second time.
I think that's more than fair. I think that's more than fair.
Okay.
Circumstances happen, sometimes.
Right.
Yeah,
you know,
no, that's why we give them
something
the
bad
benefit
could
of the
happen,
doubt.
they have to be away.
I think that's a good middle of the line to take right there. You know, you don't punish them right off, because it's not that, you're here for input, and they should be here to give input. It's, if you opened it and you found that this, next one didn't have the detail that you wanted, you'd be possibly inclined to deny, because there was no,
Right. And once it's declined,
it's done.
it's done, unless there's some major issue change to that application is done forever, So, that's why I asked this. It goes into some serious ramifications.
And the thing is, too, we could reach a point where we get very busy and have a lot more cases coming before us, and we just aren't gonna have time to do
Yep.
that.
So, it's agreed upon by the board that we would,
That our policy
Table.
would be, that our policy would be to table.
that our policy would be to table, okay?
Once.
Once. And then we'll redetermine if they choose to do it a second time, what action would be done. Okay, any other things before the board? Anything from planning before the board?
No, sir.
With that, like to motion to adjourn?
Move, we adjourn.
Second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night. Thank you.